Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you are listening to and watching a new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And joining me, as always, are my co-hosts, Rebellious D and Trav. How you fellas doing today?
What is up?
Ready to rock, man.
You know it.
Hey, it's always good seeing you guys, man. And today we have a very special guest. This is somebody who they had saw our Bo Billingsley episode that we had. That was what our 100th episode, right? No. I'm sorry. That was our 2-year anniversary.
Yes,
that was our 2-year anniversary episode, and they had. I can't remember if they had liked it or if they had commented on it. But as soon as I saw who they were, and I saw that they were going to be starring in the new Cowboy Bebop live action Netflix series, I was just like, "Yo, we have to have them on our podcast." And you know what I did? Like I always say up here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. I slide right in the DMs and joining us today.
Hey, get on that snow sled and
just slid right on in. And that is Mason Alexander Park. How are you doing today, Mason?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for joining us here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks.
That's right.
Thank you for opening my message that I sent to you when I slid in the DMs, because like I always say, they're either going to say yes, they're going to say no, or they're not going to open up the message at all. So I appreciate you doing that for me.
Oh yeah, anytime.
So we keep getting all these guests with cool, full names.
I know, right?
And, I'm a little upset that I ain't got something that cool.
Yours is the shortest.
Yeah, yours is the shortest. I mean, you have Benjamin Banks, you have Rebellious D, and then Trav. It's just Trav. It's like you need to.
Sometimes that's all you need.
That's right. Sometimes that's all
right.
you need.
Yeah.
Short and sweet.
Exactly. It's memorable. It's more memorable.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into this interview for our viewers on YouTube, make sure that you like this video, you tap the subscribe button, and you hit the bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. So let's go ahead and get into today's interview. So Mason, what we do whenever we have guests come on, we always let them tell their origin story. So what is your origin story? Who is Mason Alexander Park?
The big questions. I guess I'm still kind of figuring that out, which is sort of like the most annoying answer of all time. But
cheers to that.
I feel like I know who Mason Alexander Park is a lot more this year than probably any other, especially with isolation. I think that like so many times, so much of your identity or how you see yourself is created by the world around you. It's sort of created by this constant reminder that you are or are not a certain thing, or that you fit into certain categories. And I think that like a really cool thing about one of the very, very, very few positives about what's going on right now is that so many people are like living in little bubbles and kind of giving themselves opportunity to sort of explore who they are a little bit more, and without the interference of other people in real life kind of checking them all the time. So I do think that I'm slowly getting there. But origin story wise, I guess I started acting when I was really, really young, not professionally, but like thinking about it when I was about 6 years old. And my parents were very, very cool about trying to get me involved in like anything from sports to, essentially like anything that stuck. And I guess acting was the thing that was like the spark for me. So I started taking it seriously when I was in middle school and doing like theater and regional theater in North Carolina. And then I decided to move to Los Angeles to go to a visual and performing arts high school, try to take it a little seriously, started auditioning out there. And then that's when I began to work professionally as an actor. I began to do like goofy teenage stuff on like Nickelodeon shows and all of that. And then I thought that theater was kind of the thing that I wanted to do for a long time, because it's like the most challenging, one of the most challenging art forms out there. Like I loved doing film and television, but half the time you're sitting around like, eating snacks and just waiting like hours for them to, fix a light or something. So there was something to be said about like the rigorous expertise almost that it takes to complete a story in, a 2-hour, 2.5 hour experience, like when you're on the stage. And then Cowboy Bebop kind of sucked me right back into television. So it has been a very weird like last decade and a half of like strange transitions of me trying to be in one place and then sort of getting yanked into the other.
So pretty much you would say that it's been a bizarre adventure.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, y'all know I had to get it in there.
You
got it. We knew it was coming. I tell Trav every week it's caught. Here we go.
So Mason, because I did my research on you, and I saw that you were born in Fairfax, Virginia. Now the three of us, we live in Virginia. So
no way.
Yeah. We live in Fairfax. That was more in Northern Virginia. We're in Southern Virginia. So did you grow up here in Virginia, or were you one of those babies that were born here and then you moved somewhere else? Because that happens a lot.
Oh yeah, it's kind of a mix of both. We hopped around a lot when I was younger, but I've lived in and out of Virginia for most of my life. At some point, we were usually here in little small spurts. It's actually where I am right now. I'm on a couple weeks of a break before I go to London to shoot another series, and so I came to visit my parents because they live in Northern Virginia still, and so it's nice. Yeah, I had no idea that we're all Virginia babies.
Exactly, right. We're all connected. One
That's
world.
Very cool.
Isn't that what they say on Falcon and Winter Soldier? Like one world, something like that.
Yeah, I just can't remember the exact.
The Flag Smasher say
because they have
like
it in Snowpiercer too. They have that one cart, one train, one cart, one whatever. It's something like that though. Yes.
Yes.
So Mason, have you ever came down to the 757? That's where we're located at.
Oh no, I haven't spent a lot of time down there. I have family in North Carolina, so I've driven through, on the way down to go spend the holidays in Raleigh. But no, I've never spent an inordinate amount of time in Southern Virginia. Unfortunately, I'll come visit y'all at some point.
Oh no.
Hey, they said it here first. Pinky promise.
That's right.
We're gonna hold you to it now. Hey, but for real, like there's a lot of cool stuff down here. They just opened up the Apex arcade cinema theater type thing, and then of course we have the ocean front, and I guess
beautiful artwork down in Norfolk.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff here. Mm-hmm. The only place that a lot of people don't really go to visit is Chesapeake because there's nothing out there. I mean, Trav, you know it's the truth.
I didn't know you were gonna say there's nothing out there. I thought you was trying to take a jab at me.
No, but for
you're right. Yeah, there's nothing out here.
Hey, when Sinbad came here, and he was just like, he loves coming to Virginia because there's so many cool things to see when you come, especially in the 757. But when you go to Chesapeake, all it is just woods. That's
all it is. Yeah,
that's all it is.
I want to double back and
talk about the Virginia conversation.
Yeah, because you were talking about kind of the isolation of COVID and us sitting at home reflecting. But now we got like phones and stuff to mess around with. This is hurricane area. So, when we was kids, we didn't have phones. So when power got knocked out for a week, you played board games and stuff like that. And it got me thinking, what if smartphones weren't a thing during the time of COVID? Like, how much more could we learn about ourselves or learn about each other or anything like that? What would we do? Like, I don't remember the days using the bathroom before smartphones. I'm like, what did I do in there? Now I look at me.
Hey, I don't think that was a good segue.
It's a great segue.
What did I do?
Bathrooms are always a great segue.
No, the bathrooms are alone time, whether it's a shower or other activities, man. That's your alone time.
Before smartphones, like when I was in the bathroom, I would just look at the floor and I would count all the tiles.
Yes, I remember doing that.
Yeah, it's weird. Or like you would look at somebody's shower curtains and try to see if you can find like the image or the imagery and something, because I believe that there's art in everything. You know what I'm saying? So
even the toilet paper.
Yeah,
I had this
toilet
weird,
paper too.
I had a painting that was that hung in my bathroom in North Carolina. that was like an optical illusion painting where if you stared at it for too long, it would turn into a different thing. So I think it was sharks, if I remember correctly. And if you looked at it one way, it was like regular fish, and then if you like really focused on it, it turned into some like a big old scary great white. And I remember that was like probably my number one shower activity, is I could see it right outside my shower, and I would just stare at this thing as if it was the first time ever. And that truly, like that, counting tiles and like maybe sometimes like taking a book in or something, like were the things that I used to do, at least to try to like make it a more memorable experience.
I just read a lot of comic books and books in the bathroom.
The only thing I know that I did for a fact was I made toilet paper triangles.
You do something. I find it funny that like this is where the conversation is right now. What did you do in the bathroom before we have smartphones?
You're asking the real questions. Is really what this is what the people want.
These are the real questions.
I mean, like the real ones.
You know the picture of Vegeta in the shower, right? And they're just looking up, taking the shower. Okay, well.
Oh, are you talking about in the like on the actual show?
On the actual show.
Oh wait, no, he's not in the shower. Like,
he's just in the rain, but he's like looking up.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what you kind of do in the shower though? Like, I be thinking.
What?
I think all the time in the shower. I go in there and I think about life and.
Oh my God!
In the shower, Trav? I just stand under the hot water and close my decompress.
I be thinking, bro.
Decompress.
I will fight the water in the shower sometimes. Like, I'll punch it. Like sometimes, like I'll reenact anime scenes, and like sometimes I'll act like I'm Goku, and I'll do the Kamehameha at the water.
Pretend like the water is the Gallic gun, and you're fighting it.
Yeah, the water's coming at me. Yeah,
I'm sure he should be telling our guests this.
Hey, Trav is the one that started with the bathroom talk.
I now know so much about you. I know
hey, Mason.
Yeah,
when you come here Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, it's like Olive Garden. We're all family.
This guy, dude.
Mason, don't buy that. But anyway, don't buy that. Get back on the main road, good sir.
But hey, Mason, I wanted to, or Trav, finish up.
I was done with the shower talk.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, man.
Before we go back to the main plot line here, I do think that having COVID does give us a lot of time to reflect, and it lets you get back to things that you like. Me, I draw, and now I build models, and it's like. Before COVID, you could go out more often and stuff. So it gives you time to reflect and work on you still. I do agree.
Yeah, I'm really like amazed and inspired by all the people that I've seen find new hobbies or like reconnect with old things and old passions during this time. Cause it's like, and probably not from this point on moving forward. Like there never really will be another time quite like this, at least while we're alive, hopefully not, where you can, actually connect with things without like, the craziness of the day-to-day, world and schedules that we normally set for ourselves. So it's good because it's also teaching, I think, people a lot about self-prioritization, like learning how to self-care in a way that I don't think I even knew how to do. I still suck at it, but it's like, it's a good time to recalibrate.
Yeah. Because before the pandemic, it was like you go.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like slamming the brakes on in a lot of ways. You were forced to slow down.
Yeah,
and it is interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say because of the pandemic, I mean, like it really brought the three of us together, and putting out more content for our podcast, starting a YouTube channel up, because it's like, and a lot of times we're at home. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're not going out because you really can't go out to a lot of places and whatnot. So. I will say that the pandemic, it has had its pros along with its cons, but I'm happy that we were able to, take a positive out of what we want to do with the podcast and the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks name and push ourselves, because I will say, like, it does suck because Mason, I'm a professional wrestler, and because of the pandemic, wrestling kind of got put on hold for me. Like, I went from traveling every weekend to now just being at home on the weekend. So it definitely does suck. Like for you, like because of the pandemic, Like, were there a lot of projects that you had that were either shelved or were they put on the back burner? And if they were, like, what did you do to replace those projects, or did you just practice on your craft and hone it?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of things. It's so rare, I think, as an actor to have things lined up. The function of the industry, the whole gig economy aspect of it makes it really hard to know what the next, year or 2 or 3 of your life might look like unless you're on a series that has, that built into the contract. And even in those situations, it's like pretty rare for you to know that you're even going to come back the next year. Right. It is such a tense thing. So most things, like most incredible jobs that you find, are like, yes, you may sign a contract that says I'm going to do this thing for 7 years, but like really it's one that you can guarantee and then hope that the rest kind of falls into place. So I was really lucky to have a lot of theater gigs lined up. I was doing a bunch of different plays and things all throughout the year. And it was the first time in a while that like I knew what I was doing from January to December for the most part. And then this all happened. Everything kind of was in the midst of either getting canceled or postponed. And so I sort of had to do a shift because like if that's your livelihood, if that's how you make money, now all of a sudden I had no way to bring in any kind of income. And I was like, okay, I need to like recalibrate, think about other things that I can do in this time. And so I started writing more because I've always kind of wanted to write for film and television. It's sort of a thing that I had been working on for a bit. And then that was going really well and really promising. And I was sort of like, okay, this is going to be the thing that I'm going to do throughout the next year or so as the pandemic is kind of, subsiding to a degree, and then we'll see. And in the midst of all of those negotiations and all of those things kind of coming into place, Bebop sort of came out of nowhere, and that caused me, to have to pivot again. And it was amazing to find work in the pandemic. They were really fortunate in the fact that the production was always set in New Zealand ever since they first wanted to do the show. It just with the tax, with everything involved, it was just like such a draw for them to shoot it there. And so they had already shot a little bit of the show before the whole pandemic shut everything down. And because of the way that New Zealand handled this entire thing, they were able to get back into production a lot earlier than just about any other, television series that I'm aware of. They were only a small handful of them filming at the same time as us. So that was like an insane, blessing to kind of just come out of absolute left field, especially as someone who had been considering doing more film and television, but hadn't really like found the right role or found the right job, and was really like just focused on doing, theater in New York and outside of the city. It was just kind of like a lot at once and a lot of change. And then, oh, by the way, now you have to, fly like a 30-hour long, day of travel to go to this crazy country you've never been to in the middle of a pandemic. But it turned out to be unbelievably worth it and amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna. I'm sorry, D, but
no.
I was gonna ask when you were in New Zealand because the pandemic it is going on right now. Like, were you able to do any sightseeing or try out some of the foods there? Like how to our listeners and to our viewers that have never been there, like tell us, like, how was New Zealand?
I mean, it was like night and day, coming from America and kind of the place that we were in the fall last year was not great. And so I left. I mean, I found out about the job and I believe either August or September. And then I left right at the beginning of October to go and quarantine. And the way that the New Zealand process works is like the government is so heavily involved in the quarantine process and making sure that it is a mandated thing. Unlike here where they just kind of like if you travel domestically, like no one really repairs. And if you're coming into a new city, like sometimes you have to fill out a form if you're going in, you know, like, but there's no real follow-up. No one's like knocking on your door, making sure that you're quarantined. Yeah. And the second that you land in New Zealand, like, you know, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, the army is waiting for you, and they escort you to a hotel that they've assigned for you. You sit in this room for 2 weeks. You cannot do anything. They bring you food. And then that way, when you're done, which I wasn't even really aware of until the day that I was leaving isolation, you don't have to wear a mask or anything. Like the entire country operates pretty much as normal. I mean, there's not really the 6 feet, you know, the social distancing aspect of it when I was there. The only real thing day to day was they have this like COVID tracker app, which is basically they just put QR codes outside of like every building. And if you're a business or even if you're a house, like you can download your own QR code and like tape it to your door. And that's how they track, you know, where people have been. So in case there's an outbreak or somebody, you know, went into the Walgreens and had it, they can contact anyone who was there and signed in over the last, you know, couple of days and make sure that they're following the, you know, proper procedures, getting tested, all that stuff. So I only saw, you know, there were only a few cases in the entire like 3 months that I was there shooting the show. I feel like there were only a few, and they publicly shame you like it's Game of Thrones and you are being, you know, it's unbelievably funny. Like it's on the news and they're like, Sandra went out and she got COVID down here at the like they are so mean and so funny. It is so good. And that's how they get you, you know, because like they want to, if you didn't sign into apps and like you know that person or whatever, or it's just like they try to get the information out as fast as possible. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, AD, you can go ahead with your question.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna piggyback. With being in New Zealand, they had the least amount of cases, right? New Zealand, and Iceland, and those places. Yeah,
at the time that I was there, they had only had, I think they were still under less than like 30 deaths over the course of almost, you know, like 6-7 months since it really became a big thing. It helps that they're an island. It helps that the Prime Minister was like very insistent on, you know, regulating travel and the way that, you know, things were run early on. And so they had their stuff together, you know, they really knew what they were doing. And it's sad that like we didn't necessarily have the leadership or the infrastructure, you know, like it's harder when you're a country like the United States, obviously. And also there's a different mentality, you know, like this is, I mean, no shade to the United States of America, but I have never met like more self-important people in my life.
Very arrogant.
Very arrogant and unaware of, like there's no social responsibility.
Right.
Zero.
Rule breakers over here.
Hey, that's why Childish Gambino said, "This is America, man." Just like, they want to do what they want to do. They don't want to wear masks. They don't want to do social distancing. They think it's a hoax. I didn't hear all the line. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I'm serious.
Yeah, I've seen people. So I think I told this when we had Bo on. And you know, there's times even now I see people mad because they can't come in the store without a mask. I'm like, what do you want? Like,
it's for everybody's safety.
Exactly.
Like, I don't get what the big deal is.
Me either. I don't. And it's just they just don't care. Like I said, arrogant. Trav, did you want to say anything about
I got no comments on.
I like that, Trav. Let's roll. Let's roll, Trav. Hop in the back.
Let's keep on rolling on the train. All right. Now hold on, Rondell. The reason why I'm bringing up the train is because when Mason was on iCarly, the character. Hey, look. Like I said, I prepared for this, and I went and I watched the episode.
Talk about the train.
Hey, I appreciate that, but me and Trav know we got to watch you week to week, so I'm gonna check you. I'm checking your card every time.
Hey, Mason was in control of the train. What was interesting about seeing you up there, Mason, is because we have some friends that are actors, and we see them on certain shows where it's like they might not have a lot of speaking parts, or they might be a background character or something. But the character that you portrayed, you had dialogue. You were in multiple scenes. Now, when you were on iCarly, like, because you had so many scenes, because I don't know how it works and on TV and whatnot, but when they give a character like that much dialogue and that much screen time, like, is it a possibility that they will be brought back on the show, or is it just like it's just a one-time deal?
I mean, so originally the contract, the way that they had written that role in was it was like a one-time, guest star kind of a spot. They were in a very interesting place when I joined that show and that cast, and I believe they were planning on doing another season. So Dan Schneider really liked. I had improv at one point, like during the process. We ended up writing it into the episode and like doing a lot of fun stuff. And he would just kind of pulled me aside afterwards and was like, "I want to put you on the show more. Like, I'd love to bring you back." And then like I feel like it had to have been a month later, maybe, that they found out that they were canceled, and that it was going to be their last season. So I never got a chance to actually go back and do any of the stuff that we had discussed. But it was kind of cool to be there especially on a show that, like, I remember growing up, like watching Drake and Josh and iCarly and sort of like loving. I just think it was, ridiculous and so stupid. Yeah. And wanting to do, something like that at some point in my life just for fun. And so it was a very cool, like, fun week and a half experience. And I was kind of sad that, I didn't get to, I just wish they would have written that part in like maybe a year ago or a year before, I actually did it. And then I kind of have been able to stick around a little bit more. But they're doing a revival. I don't know if anybody saw that. They're literally redoing.
So it's a possibility that
there's a possibility. There's a complete possibility.
You might come back. You might still be leading the train.
I might still be leading the train club. We have no idea. Honestly, in the iCarly universe, I'm probably dead. To be honest, like I feel like
don't say that.
Don't say that.
But that's cool that you were able to be on iCarly, because at the time when it was on Nickelodeon, I want to say iCarly and Victorious were like the two big shows at the time. So for you to star on one of those shows, like it's an amazing feeling, and that's a notch that you have on your belt that, hey, I was on iCarly. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't care what you say or what you've done, I was on iCarly.
That's right.
Now
100.
I tried to see if I could find anything on Bucket and Skinner's Epic Adventures, because I saw that your name was Toby up there as well. Now, was it the same character?
No, that was the weirdest thing. It literally, I auditioned for iCarly one week for Toby Peterson, and then it had to have been, I think, 2 or 3 weeks later that I got the audition for Bucket and Skinner's Epic Adventures, and it wasn't even the same casting director. Like, there were different casting directors that worked through Nickelodeon. And so when I got that part, I was like, why the hell does everybody want me to play Toby? Like, what about me? I'm just specifically only ever going to play characters named Toby. So that like completely came out of left field and was very, like, the timing of it was very, very weird, that it was, those episodes must have been being written at the same time by different writers who were like not talking to each other. And that was a lot of fun. That show was, I did a few episodes of that one, and got to be a part of it for a little bit longer. And it was a bit more of I don't know if I would say it's a more ridiculous character, because I was pretty ridiculous on iCarly too, but it was definitely up there.
Yeah, it's just cool that you were able to star on a Nickelodeon show. I mean, like, when we've had voice actors up here before who grew up watching something, like we've had someone up here, Danny Kramer. He grew up watching Pokemon and watching Yu-Gi-Oh, and then now he's a voice actor on Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. So it's always cool when, if it's something that you really love or something that you enjoyed, that when you get into that field, depending on what it is, you get to play in it or voice it. So I know that you're in Cowboy Bebop, and we're not going to reveal too much or anything, because it isn't out yet. We're not going to get you in trouble, and we don't want to get sued. So with Cowboy,
ain't gonna get much.
So with Cowboy,
the exclusive is that there's not much we can say.
Hey, and to anybody that's listening or that's watching this, like, please don't be mad at us that Mason wasn't able to reveal what happens here and what happens there. Like, it's not out yet. You have to wait for it, just like we have to wait. So just relax, chillax.
Wait.
Yeah.
So, Mason, I wanted to ask you, with Cowboy Bebop, were you a fan of the anime before, getting casted in the show?
Yeah, I remember watching it like when I was really young. I remember when it first started coming on Adult Swim, and I feel like, I mean, I could be completely misremembering this in like some weird, like nightmarish young way, but I feel like it would come on so late at night, like midnight or 1, and every time that it would, I just like couldn't really understand what it was. I loved it. I loved the music. I was such a big fan of like the whole, film noir space cowboy vibe, because like I grew up loving Star Wars and loving, all kinds of, genre driven sci-fi stuff. And it was just really cool to see a show that sort of blended all of those things and like made very obvious homages of popular, films and tropes, and like the Alien episode is one specifically that I remember seeing at like 2 a.m. or something, probably when I was 12 or like even 8 years old or something, and being like, oh my God, this is terrifying, and I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, I revisited it obviously when I got the audition for the show, and I was like, I feel like I remember seeing some of this, and then rewatching it again as an adult is like, I mean, a completely different experience. The anime is probably like, I think, one of the most profound television shows in any medium.
Oh yeah.
It's so deep and so beautifully like edited and shot, and I mean, I'm talking about it like it's live action almost in a weird way, but the way that it is it feels like you're watching a film, and it's unbelievable to me that something like that existed at that time, and especially when you think of while some of the representation in the actual anime can be dicey, the fact that there was any in anime at that time and everybody didn't just all look kind of the same was really remarkable. So I was so psyched. So like I poured through the entire thing. I bought it on Amazon. I think like maybe the night after I read the script, and I was like, okay, I need to sit down and start watching this again. And of course, like the whole Jupiter Jazz saga, like just completely destroys you every single time. And it's an amazing thing, and it still holds up. I love that.
Yeah, it does.
It still holds up.
Yep. It's a classic, cult classic.
It's cool because Trav, I wanted you to ask the next question, but all I wanted to say, Mason, is that it's funny that we have you up here because we're huge Cowboy Bebop fans, and our second episode, all the way back in 2018, was Cowboy Bebop, and then for our 2-year anniversary, we ended up having Bo Billingsley up here, and now we have somebody that's going to be on the live action show. So everybody that's listening and watching, we love Cowboy Bebop, and we're gonna keep the train rolling. Look at
this, me too. The fact that they sell this at Urban Outfitters to this day is like a testament to how amazing culturally the show is. It is like so weird to me and so amazing to me.
Yeah.
Like I can walk into a Hot Topic, an Urban Outfitters, just about anywhere, and there is, to this day, even though there hasn't been a new episode of Cowboy Bebop in like well over a decade, well over 2 decades, that this stuff still holds up and exists in such a palatable way. It's really awesome.
Yeah, and then another thing too is that because when we were younger, I know that you're younger than us, but back in those days, like you really couldn't find anime apparel anywhere. So to now walk in somewhere like how you just mentioned Hot Topic, like back in the day, Hot Topic was, a store that only goth kids went to, and like they really didn't have a lot of nerd stuff in there compared to now, where it's like
so shifted. Oh my
god! Yeah, it's a complete 180 in there now. So it's like you can go in there and find
culture store now.
Yeah, it's a pop culture store, and then you can go on Walmart, you can go to Target. Like there's so many stores that you can go into now where, depending on how popular the anime is, like I know that Cowboy Bebop, it is a popular anime, but I already know like once the Netflix but live action comes out, we're going to see more Cowboy Bebop stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do hope so. It's because Sunrise is one of the producers on our on our show as well, and so they own the licenses to all this merch. Like anytime I look at a tag on any of the shirts, it's like Sunrise Inc. So I'm excited to see what they do. I have a good feeling that they're going to be like, all right, what can we get out there right now and start making money off of? Because they've just got so much good stuff. And hopefully there'll be some fun, live action specific Bebop related material that comes out of it. Because that would be very weird, but also very cool. I'm looking forward to the day where I can buy stuff that like it may or may not be Gren adjacent or related, but I'm also terrified of the thought of that.
But hey, D, you were about to ask a question?
No, I was just gonna object to what you were saying about Hot Topic. I think, being part of the skate community, I went there a lot, down in MacArthur Mall and stuff.
Banks was scared.
Yeah, I was scared. I wasn't allowed in there.
Yeah, I believe that too. But it was, to me, it was a hidden gem because it was a place where I went and got a lot of my collectible shirts that people would always ask me at school and things like that. Hey, where'd you get that and stuff? And it was just once again, just being open to other things is what led me to finding these sweet shirts and merch. I mean, like wristbands and things sweet shirts. But keep going.
I love Hot Topic. Last time I was in there, people were taking pictures with me, which was very, very weird and very cool.
That's awesome.
I mean, if I ever catch you in a Hot Topic, I'm getting a picture. So
D, remember Mason already said that they coming down here to the 757. So
I did.
Hey, we can go stay on
Hot Topic together.
Yeah,
we'll go.
That's right.
Yeah, I went there like a month or two ago because I was hoping to find some more Bebop stuff just to get for family and friends that had been really nice about the whole thing. And there's another series that I'm a part of called Critical Role, which I don't know if any of you are fans of their whole thing, and it's that D&D kind of inspired. Okay. And so they've got an animated series, which I'm a voice actor on, that's coming out on Amazon at some point.
I'll be checking that out.
Millennium, I have no idea. But please check it out. But I was shocked to walk in and see that like they had so many shirts. I feel like sweatshirts and little Funko Pops, all the things. So it's really weird to be like not necessarily a genre actor now, but to be on a lot of stuff because I grew up loving nerd culture, and my dad and I collected comic books together my whole life, and like I never, as a queer person, especially like as a non-binary person, I never necessarily thought that there would be a place for me in science fiction or in nerd culture necessarily as an actor, just because it's so hyper masculine or hyper feminine, and like there's and the times that there are queer or trans or non-binary characters, they're very small and they're very specifically tropey. So I had kind of written off the whole thing. I was like, I'll never do a Star Wars or a Star Trek in my lifetime, or that sort of thing. And now that those jobs are the ones that are happening, and there's the one that I'm doing in London is of a similar world that I unfortunately cannot talk about yet, but
that's
it's really weird. Like I feel like now for the next couple of years I'm just reliving like all of my childhood obsessions of comic books and anime and stuff, which is fun.
Well, Mason, I just want to say something. I've said this here on the pod before. Don't ever let anybody tell you what you can and can't be a part of, because here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, we got your back first and foremost. And it's cool that you got to go back a little bit and have a little bit of nostalgia and be a part of it. I mean, how big is that? I mean, it's amazing, man. Count those blessings.
Yeah, it's very cool. It is very, very cool.
So I wanted to piggyback off of what you had said, Mason, about growing up and reading comics with your dad. What were some of your favorite comic books that you enjoyed reading when you were growing up?
So he loved The Punisher, so I kind of got into that by proxy. Nice. It's still to this day, that's his favorite. I was a big Fantastic Four and X-Men fan.
Nice.
Very, very Marvel heavy in the stuff that got me started in it. And then the Sandman, as I got old.
It's another Netflix show that's coming.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think what else. I feel like those are kind of the big ones, at least the ones that like come to mind in terms of things that I actually actively collected.
Yeah.
Because we have so much of everything, but the stuff that I looked forward to getting new issues of all the time was definitely those ones.
Yeah. So now
then there are those ones.
So now I'm about to hit you with a piggyback combo because you just mentioned, you collected the X-Men, and we're huge X-Men fans up here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And by you being non-binary, I love the X-Men because the X-Men is a comic book where, there's somebody in that comic that represents everyone. It's like different races, different religions, different sexes. And that's the one thing that I love about X-Men. So I wanted to ask you, who is your favorite X-Men character?
I love villains. I have a really, really, really hard time not being like so drawn and attracted to villains. So growing up, like Magneto, I don't know why I was just so obsessed with Magneto.
It was a great idea.
Yeah, there's exactly. I'm slowly turning into Magneto.
There is that Quicksilver look.
Oh
yeah, very, very Quicksilver. I know. Maybe I'll call him Marvel.
Got the slick back. Yeah, do it.
I'll be the third Quicksilver in like the last year.
Hey, yeah, there we go. I was about to ask. Let's see now here is a piggyback number 3 combo. How did you feel? I think that this is the first time that it's been
the first triple.
Yeah, triple. Now, did you watch WandaVision?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on that show? Seeing Evan Peters reprising the role of Quicksilver, and him being in the X-Men Fox movies. Like, what were your thoughts on that series?
First of all, I loved the campiness of it. Like, as an actor, I was really excited by the way that the show was structured in the beginning. Like, it's very much so. As I was watching it, I was recognizing it's not a show for everyone. I was like, there are going to be people that are going to watch the first episode or two of this and completely check out because they're not really understanding what's happening, or it's so non-traditional to a Marvel format. But as an actor, I loved it because I was like, how great for all of these people that they get to literally play in these very specific worlds and play this layered, kind of these stereotypical television tropes out. And like Catherine Hahn, I mean, come on, the fact that she such an amazing track.
She's underrated anyways.
Yeah, always has. It's like she's one of the best, one of my favorites. She can literally do it all, and it was cool to see her prove that in something that is so like massive and mainstream in a way. Just because she's always kind of been doing things that maybe besides like some of the bigger blockbuster comedies that she's been in. Like most of her other work has definitely flown somewhere under the radar comparatively. So I just thought that she was spectacular. And like, again, I mean, also that's the baddie in me, I'm like immediately drawn to all the people that do bad things on TV. But yeah, I loved it. I had a great time. I thought it was a really fun, quirky show.
That's awesome. Now guys, I hate to do this, but I'm about to piggyback number 4. This is the first time in number 4 piggybacks.
Right. Thanks. Be careful. It's never been done before.
If I get the 5, if I get the 5, Thanos gonna come back to life. Now, this is my last one. Then I'll pass the piggybacks. Okay. But Mason, if you were a character on WandaVision, what sitcom world would you love to be in? You can only choose one. It could be from any decade. What would you be in? I know this is a hard one because there are a lot of sitcoms to choose from.
You just usually ask hard questions.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what makes Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks fun, because if the questions were easy, then it's just like, of course they're going to have an answer to that.
Yeah.
Trav, don't get them, Trav.
I have 2 answers. I'll try to pick one.
Go ahead. All right,
my gut is to say I love the Modern Family, like, time frame of television, mainly because I was such a fan of The Office growing up, that like a mockumentary style TV show is like something I want to check off my list. So that's kind of like me as the actor would want to do that for fun, but also like I want to do I Love Lucy like you wouldn't believe. That is just prime prime comedy and so quirky and so specific. And yeah, sitcoms like that just don't exist anymore. And it'd be really fun to play in that.
Yeah. Now, I Love Lucy in black and white, or I Love Lucy in color?
Oh, black and white for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I love both of them, but it was something about the black and white ones that just give it that traditional television vibe. I don't know. It's just something about the black and white. I guess that's the reason why when the Snyder cut of Justice League, that it came out in color at first, and then they re-released it in black and white, so that way I guess you could get that comic.
It's really not much of a difference.
Yeah, it's not that much of a difference. It's just black and white.
I never knew that.
Yeah. But hey, those are all my piggybacks. Trav.
I can't even remember where I was gonna.
I got one.
I tried to put in like 4 times. Banks kept shutting the door.
Oh, you know how he does.
Hey, it was
that combo going.
The combo was going, man. I'm sorry, man. This is the first.
No, I remember now. Hold on, I remember now. Because we gotta go back to Cowboy Bebop real quick.
All right.
I thought it was really cool that Sunrise was involved in the series more than just signing over like permission. They gave him a permission slip versus like being involved in the story building and stuff. Because when your boy was coming up, I was sitting at Suncoast, and Sunrise was hot back in the day. They don't really put out a lot of anime content anymore, but back in the day, I mean, they had all the Gundams, Cowboy Bebop. They had a lot of material. Like Sunrise was one of my favorite studios back then. And yeah, crap. I don't even remember where I was going with it, but shout out to Sunrise.
Yeah, man.
Yes, back to Sunrise. Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, I guess I can elaborate a little bit on how fun it is. That was a big, I think, reason why so many of us who love the anime, because I'm certainly not the first or the last person that's on the show, and especially not that's involved in the show, that isn't coming and approaching it from like complete adoration as a fan first, down to our showrunner, down to like most of the people that work on directing and every aspect of the production have had an experience with Bebop before it came to them, whether it was through the music or through seeing it on television. And so to see that that Netflix, that it wasn't just a Netflix thing, that there were a lot of producers involved, people that really, really care about it, in addition to Netflix as well. But sometimes it's hard, when you're adapting material, people like to know that it's being handled with care, and I think just having Sunrise attached to the project in any capacity, I would hope would be enough for anyone to be like, oh yeah, I'll take a chance on that, because I think it's really bold to make adaptations of beloved material, but it's also fun, like if you're going to adapt something, why on earth would you ever want to do like a shot-for-shot remake of what was done before? Because it'll never be as good as what was happened, right? Like nothing that we could ever do on Cowboy Bebop, if we tried to do a shot-for-shot of that original anime, could compare, because that's what everyone fell in love with. That was how it originally came out. No one would be able to experience it in such a way. So what's exciting about adaptations is that people get an opportunity to kind of experience a new version of the story and also a new version of the characters, but still have that nostalgia, still like my favorite part of it. And I mean, I feel like I can say this, but if I can't, they'll kill me. Netflix will literally find me and eat me alive. There's like Easter eggs, and as there are on any show, but that kind of stuff is so important to fans of any material. The fact that like the people that are handling it not only know the material so well and love it so much, but they are aware of the audience of people that are watching it. Right. They're aware that everyone's going to be looking for things and looking for homages or listening for motifs and things, from the original. So all of that work was already kind of laid out before I even signed on to it, which was a big part of why I was really, really sold on the project as a whole. It felt like it was completely being handled as best as anything like this possibly could be. Plus, when I think of animes that can be adapted, it's like Cowboy Bebop, obviously, because it is already, it's structured and created in a way that feels like it is based on live action, which it is. It's based on Western films. It's based on so many specific things that like were done by people in real life first. So I'm always the backlash that some people have kind of like had the reaction to like, oh no, this is not the one to do it with. I'm kind of like, well, if this isn't the one, then there never will be a one. In my opinion,
I felt that love with the casting though.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's an unbelievable.
Casting's pretty much on point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everyone looks, so much like the people they act. It's so fun to be a part of something that's so well cast and also just like naturally diverse. I think that because one thing that people that's bothered me a lot too about live action adaptations of anime is like the blatant whitewashing and all the kinds of stuff that have happened in the past. And it's really amazing to look at the people that are in our cast and be like, oh my God, I feel like so many identities and genders and sexualities and races and are being represented in the show, where it's not necessarily about those things. Cowboy Bebop takes place in a dystopian future. We get to exist as who we are without it being like the reason our character is in the show, without it being the reason that, Gren or Jet Black or any of the characters exist in the show, not because of their identity. And the material is not about that stuff, which is so fabulous. Because then you're just kind of treated the way that like any other actor, any other like straight cis white actor probably is most of the time when he joins a show. Like he doesn't have to think about how his identity fits into the politics of the piece at all. And it's fun to be in something that is just so uniquely, naturally what it is.
Yeah, now I wanted to touch on you portraying Gren because by you being non-binary, and I know we talked about it earlier, the representation that's out there, because like how you said earlier, there were certain roles, whether if you were gay, lesbian, bi, non-binary, the roles, they were small, whereas like you're in a big role. And it shows representation that somebody else is non-binary is just like, well, if Mason can do it, then that means that I can do it too. And that's why I feel like that there has to be a form of representation in all sorts of entertainment. I couldn't think of the word that I wanted to say, but
media?
Media. Because it's just like it shouldn't be just limited to one race or one sex and stuff like that, because it's just like we're all fans, and I think that it opens the door when you have different people come in and they portray characters. Have you had any backlash because you were casted as Gren in the Cowboy Bebop live action show?
Oh, yeah. I had to turn my phone off the day that the announcement happened.
I've seen a lot of stuff on YouTube and stuff about it.
Yeah, it was really intense. It was very like a deeply personal experience. I think like I had anticipated it. Production had kind of anticipated it. We know the audience. We know that sometimes fandoms can be incredibly toxic. I mean, that's not a secret. It can be deeply racist, deeply misogynistic.
Yes.
And not to generalize, fandoms at all, but it is a recurring problem. We've seen it, in situations like with Star Wars, it was
Wyatt Russell too.
Oh, exactly. Yeah,
they're doing that to him right now.
I know. I was reading about that today on Twitter.
Voice actors too.
Yeah, it's just not right. I mean, come on.
It doesn't make any sense to me, because my question is, I guess like the biggest thing for me is sort of who is media for? And I think that there has been this massive miscalculation, and it's because of the way that the world is sort of structured to benefit a very specific kind of person. Right. It's sort of built for the straight white man, and it because of that, there's like this inherent. Well, if that character doesn't represent the straight white man, or that character doesn't represent me, then I can't like this character anymore.
Right,
This is offensive to me. This is like, this is personal. And it's like, well, you've got like 5 other people in this show, or like usually the lead of any other TV show of all time. Like historically, it's so strange. the argument against representation generally comes from people that have only historically been represented and aren't used to seeing other people besides themselves in media. So it's shocking to them and it feels like purposeful, when in reality it's like, no, this is just life, and people look different and act different and are different. And, that doesn't mean you can't connect to them. It doesn't mean you can't relate to them.
Well, the funny thing about media, real quick, is that it's developing and it's changing, and it always will and always has. And what I mean is, like, whether you're non-binary or, you're gay or black or, and you have to keep an open mind. And I think that's the problem with so many people in the world right now, is that they refuse to, just like wearing a mask. It's
wearing a mask. I was about to say,
it's just like, it's entitlement, and you have to keep an open mind,
Yeah, there is the entitlement is definitely that was shocking.
I think that's the problem.
It was a big issue, and it was hard because it's a thing I wanted to celebrate, a thing I wanted to share with all the people like me who had never seen themselves represented in media, and to take a character that already was dealing with a very specific set of complex themes in the anime, and then try to play this this idea that, that character couldn't be played by a non-binary person or a trans person because of the way that I envision who that person is. It's like, well, it works both ways, and also, secondly, this is an adaptation. So no one knows what we're doing with any of the characters on the show. No one knows what Gren's backstory or Gren's entire life is going to look like on the series, but everyone's just basing it on the idea that, like, if we create a shot-for-shot remake, well, then because X, Y, and Z happens to Gren in the anime, putting a non-binary person in this role is like stupid, and and so that was kind of weird to me to sort of watch a lot of people argue over something that it felt like the people arguing didn't necessarily know a lot about it. And deep down, Gren's like main character, or one of the main traits of that character, deals a lot with, body dysmorphia and transgender issues in a way that, whether or not that's what was intended at the time, the episode is based on The Crying Game. Like, the episode is based on one of the most famous trans stories, Oscar award-winning films of all time. So it's sort of a strange thing to argue that a non-binary or transgender person shouldn't be in the part that was structured to play on those exact themes and topics, even if it just so happens that Gren uses he him pronouns the entire time, because it was a specific time where we weren't really playing with pronouns and doing more interesting things yet. So times have changed, and the show is set in a little further in the future, and we know more as a society, and it's like, so why not allow someone who actually in real life has experience with living in a deeply gendered world and feeling sort of in between, exactly like Gren, why not let someone who actually knows what that is like play the character, instead of a random cis actor that would have to imagine what that experience might be like.
See, now I'm about to bring the piggy back again.
Let's do it.
Because I wanted to ask you this, but I wasn't sure if it would be comfortable to ask. But now that you had just said what you said, I think
the floodgates are open, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the floodgates are open, because I was talking with D about this earlier, because do you know who Tyler James Williams is?
I feel like I recognize that name.
He played Chris in Everybody Hates Chris.
Yes.
Okay, so he was in a movie called Dear White People, and in the role that he played, his character was gay. And Tyler James Williams, he's not gay, but he said that the reason why he took the role was because he felt comfortable doing it. Because in one of the scenes in the movie, I believe that I know he makes out with another guy, but I can't remember if he sleeps with the guy or not. But the question that I wanted to ask was, because you just brought up how sometimes in certain roles they put a straight male in that role, and they have to imagine. Do you think that it's messed up that they choose straight males to put into those roles instead of going for somebody that is gay or somebody that is a lesbian, because it takes away from somebody that actually knows and feels and has a thought process Do you think that it's messed up when those roles get taken away?
I have
Mason, like a four-part answer.
Can I add to that question?
Yeah.
Piggyback off of my piggyback.
I do because
oh my God.
not only that movie, I want to dive into also Brokeback Mountain with Jake Gyllenhaal and
oh yeah,
Heath Joker. What's his name?
Heath Ledger.
Being two straight males playing two gay characters. I want to add on to that though by throwing that movie in there too.
Yeah, I mean, historically, there are a lot of examples. There are more examples of straight men playing gay and trans characters than there probably are queer people playing actual queer characters. Right. So my answer is deeply complicated as someone who is an actor and in these positions. I think there are a lot of things to consider. I think it's inappropriate, deeply inappropriate. It takes away from representation. It takes away from, the opportunity to, when you think of the actors that are available, most queer actors do not really get asked to do anything other than queer roles. The imagination only exists for straight people. Like, oh, I would love to see Heath Ledger play a gay man because I know that Heath Ledger's not gay, and then I can cast him as a straight guy in this thing and cast him as the Joker in this thing. Like, there is no hesitation because he's an actor. He can do whatever he wants. But there is this double standard when you look at queer characters, queer actors, where it's really, really nearly impossible for a queer person to play a straight, cis person on TV. Right. Maybe one of the few examples that I know. I
can't think of any.
Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris. How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's like probably one of the few times that at least to that level. And so it's upsetting to me because it's taking opportunity and money away from, queer artists that otherwise would not have nearly as many opportunities. You think of like how many auditions does a straight man get versus how many auditions does a gay man get? Yep. And then if you just put those side to side and then say, oh, and then the gay guy's going to take the straight guy's going to take all those gay guy roles too. Yep. Like you're leaving an entire, section of the industry out of the equation, and then we can never, queer people will never have the opportunity to tell their own stories. And usually, you can tell when it's not authentic and when it's not someone speaking from experience and just from research. And I think so that's more on like the sexuality spectrum. Yeah. When it comes to gender, I think it's way, 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 way worse because, and I would suggest to anyone who's listening to this too, and y'all especially if you are interested in this topic, Disclosure on Netflix is a great documentary by Laverne Cox that is that kind of chronicles and details the way that trans people have been portrayed in the media and how that has resulted in the direct effect of violence against trans women in real life. I remember like growing up watching movies like Ace Ventura and loving them, and like the entire last 20 minutes of that movie for the most part is literally about transphobia. Like it's all of them throwing up at this idea that the police chief transitioned. It's so uncomfortable. She's it's this horrible, experience as a trans person to go back and like watch something like that. And this idea of putting Eddie Redmayne in a dress, and having him play a trans woman in The Danish Girl and letting him win an Oscar for it, or Jared Leto for, Dallas Buyers Club. Like, sure, they're great performances, but at the end of the day, if the only representation of trans people on TV and in film is by very famous straight cisgender men, and it completely bleeds into the rhetoric that trans people are just playing dress up, that it's just a costume, that it's not, that it is really that trans women are actually just men that are dressing up a certain way, when that's not the case. And now there is, like today, Arkansas passed, the first anti-trans bill in a while, that is now going to make it impossible for a lot of kids to receive life-affirming care. And there's like over 30 anti-trans or over 140 like LGBTQ bills that are out there right now in 30 different states. Some of which
is this the bill that allows a health worker to deny helping somebody who is either gay or trans or
The one in Arkansas, I'm not sure if that
that's
portion of it passed, but that's Alabama has one like that.
Alabama, yeah.
Yes, it would be a federal offense. It would be
Ain't that wild?
federal offense.
That's
Like they can deny any
they can deny
healthcare.
you. Like
Any
if
healthcare.
you, pretty much if you get shot and they come in and they're like, this person's gay, they're like, well, we're not gonna.
Yeah, we can't help.
And there's nothing they can do.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
They could go to jail.
And
Yeah.
That's how some people
I had no
are.
idea
It's
about that.
sad.
That's crazy.
Crazy stuff.
That is absolutely crazy.
But I mean, it just goes to show the world that we live in.
Right.
Where, you know, it doesn't matter what race you are or, you know, what your sex is. It's just like if people feel like that they don't want to help you because of who you are, then they're not going to help you, and it's messed up because it's 2021. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
but the
like
thing is,
some people.
I just
still
wanna-
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just want to piggyback off what you're saying. That stuff bleeds into you know, any kind of like hate crimes and stuff. As far as I'm concerned, man, that's borderline. That goes hand in hand with racism and stuff. Why don't they just say that too?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
these are
is
the
that
same,
what is going to come? I
these
mean,
are
this
the
is
same
scary.
people that say that you can have your political views and I'll have mine, and we should still be able to be friends, right?
No, you can't.
It's the
I
same
hate
kind of
people
people
like that.
passing this stuff. You know,
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's really painful, and it's very sad.
Very eye-opening.
Continue.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason why responsible storytelling and like accurate representation is so important, because now, you know, we have visibility. We have shows like Pose. We have shows that you know, actually have decent trans representation, and but with visibility also comes the backlash. You know, it also comes the J.K. Rowlings of the world. It also comes, you know, the amount of people, the amount of trans women that have been murdered in the last year alone it's at an all-time high. And so when it feels like things are going well, and when it feels like, you know, maybe we're getting somewhere, the amount of eyes that are on you, and it's exactly like the Cowboy Bebop situation. It's like just when you think something amazing, you know, is finally culturally happening, and watching all the queer people like talking about how awesome it is that Gren's going to finally be played by, you know, someone who's non-binary or genderqueer, and then the complete opposite happens. That backlash comes because people get scared of what they don't know, and it's just, you have to be exposed to this a little more.
This is what blows my mind. You're telling me, as a fan of Cowboy Bebop, you saw how Gren was drawn and thought that was a straight white male?
Right.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's ridiculous.
It's like,
It's so ridiculous.
it's like, come on. I mean, that's just how some fans are. I mean, like we talked about before, when with voice actors, right? Like when they're voicing a character, you have some fans who are just like, that character shouldn't sound like that. In my head, this is how that character should sound. It's just like, it doesn't work like that. Like this, like we've had voice actors come up here before, and like we've loved their work, and it's like they'll tell us that because they were a person of color or something like that, they got backlash because this fan thought that this person shouldn't be voicing this character because you know, this person doesn't sound like that. At the end of the day, man, all it is it's a cartoon, it's an anime, it's entertainment. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you shouldn't be mad because a person doesn't sound like how you imagine that person is going to sound. You shouldn't be mad because that person that is portraying a character in a live action show doesn't live up to your fantasies on what that person should look or sound like. It's like D said earlier, there is a lot of entitlement out here with a lot of people, and social media is a double-edged sword, because where there is positivity that comes with it, you also have to get the negativity as well. And a lot of people have that soapbox that they can stand on, and by them saying their idiotic statement, you have other people that agree with that idiotic statement, and they want to follow that statement, even though they're all wrong. They're all wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it's just,
bro, I had somebody.
I said, go ahead, Trav.
I had somebody straight up tell me that there was a post that was just like, "This is for all my white cis males" or whatever, and we were talking about, and they were like, "Aren't you offended?" And I was like, "What? Why would I be offended? They're not specifically talking about me, because I don't feel that way that they're talking about. They're not talking about me. You know, those posts that's like, if if you reading this and feel some type of way, yeah, I'm talking about you.
Right.
Bro, I didn't feel no type of way because I don't have no problem with it. So they talking about me, Playboy.
Yeah,
I know that much.
You know,
And it's just like I was
I'm
saying.
ready. Sorry.
It's just like I said, things are going to continue to move forward, especially in media and entertainment. And there's just going to be those narrow-minded people that get left behind and feel they're in their feelings all the time because they refuse to, take each adaptation as it is. There's always negative and positives, but you have to be willing to sit down and watch something for its entirety and then give a fair judgment.
Yeah.
And
at the end of the day too, like, if the anime is something that you don't want to ruin your experience with, first of all, I don't see how watching an adaptation of anything would affect the original to begin with. But but if you are worried about that happening, you're worried about like watching, someone adapt this material you love and then it destroying your ability to love the material anymore, then like I just don't watch it. You have all the power to you as a consumer can watch other things or rewatch the anime as many times as you want, which I highly recommend because I've already done it like twice this year. Exactly. It's like we're all just approaching this stuff from love, and I'm the ownership that I think people and fans of things feel is. I get it, and I get it in my own way. I feel like I have very strong feelings about things that I'm a big fan of, but not to the degree that I would ever challenge those that are like actually paid to create that content. Like I would never think that I knew more than the creator of, the original Cowboy Bebop. I would never think, and so it's weird to me to see people that like really take it a step forward and take it a step further than that and are like, well, no, because I thought this when I watched it, that is the end of this conversation. And there is no nuance there because this is how I feel about it. And you're like, well, you can feel that way, but that doesn't mean that you're right. It just means that was your interpretation of a thing. Art is interpretive. My interpretation is going to be different than everybody else's. And that's what's fun about art and media and storytelling.
So,
let me just go down.
D got some more stuff he needs to get off his chest.
Do you want rock, paper, scissors?
It's kind of yeah. Go.
All right, rock.
Oh shoot, go.
All right, rock, paper, scissors.
Let go.
All right, well,
there's a delay here going on. I
Okay, hey, look, no. All I was gonna say is that I just love where we are now as a society, for the most part, with people that do actually think and have logic, where it's just like, we can have representation in all forms of media. Because I know back in the day, David.
Are you trying to say nobody's trying to poison my kids? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. I was gonna bring up like how a lot of actors and actresses who were part of that, who were queer, they would hide it because it's like they hid it in fear that they were going to lose their job or they were going to be ridiculed. And I wanted to bring up David Yost, who played Billy on Power Rangers. Right. Yeah. He was the Blue Ranger, and he's come out and said that it's like when it came out that he was gay, like he got treated horribly on the set of Power Rangers. They even took him being the Blue Ranger away from him until it got to the point where it's like, he stood his ground for as long as he could, and then he eventually left the series. And I want to say, I think it was Jim Parsons on Big Bang Theory, because for a while, as I thought he was straight, then he came out and revealed that he was gay, and it was cool that people were accepting of it. But
talking about Sheldon?
Yeah, Sheldon. You
thought he was straight?
Yeah, I thought he was straight.
That's what I told you, D. He's got no radar, bro. Come on. There was no secret.
I was gonna let him live his life, Trav.
Oh, well, excuse me for.
Jim Parsons is amazing, though.
I was wrong on what I was saying about Jim Parsons, but I was right on what I was saying about David Yost, though. Like he got ridiculed by people he worked with, and the point I'm just trying to make is that I love the fact that there's so much representation in all forms of media now, where it's like you don't have to hide who you are in order to get a role or to get somewhere in life. You know what I'm saying? You could just be yourself and you can get there. And that's all I wanted to say. But you can go ahead.
No, I was just gonna piggyback off what you're saying.
Hey,
that's a lot of piggybacking.
The original Blue Ranger. We talked about this. I think it was earlier today or yesterday. It was just like I told you, and it's wrong for them to do that to him or anybody in that case, in that situation, because he was one of the characters that made me feel like it was okay to be, the smart guy in the room, because he had those moments. That was one of the first instances where I saw a character like that. And I think it's pretty messed up that happened, but it is nice to see it progressing at some rate.
Yeah, it's slowly but surely. It's getting a lot better. I mean, even just like a few years ago, there were so few roles for like non-binary people to begin with. Like I was not going in for a lot of television auditions just because the roles didn't really exist. And so that culture has completely shifted. The fact that like every job that I have now and then the ones that are lined up after are all, non-binary characters that have either existed in media before in adaptations like this, or are being, written for new things and new series. And it's just really, it's amazing to get to participate in the thing that I've always wanted to do, to get to be an actor and also be true to my identity within that. And then there will come times where I would love to, like any other person, play parts that are not so close to home or whatever, which I still do. I feel like every non-binary character I play is so vastly different, but it would be fun to play other things eventually. But it is amazing that, we live in a world in which I can do what I do and actually get paid for it. Whereas, 10 years ago, that would not be the reality. It wasn't the reality. So we are progressing very, very slowly, but good representation is out there and it's getting better. And sometimes, it takes the clunky, awkward phase of what I think a lot of people are complaining about now. Like I see this term woke washing a lot that really bothers me sometimes when people are like so not excited to.
That's a new one.
I've never heard
a weird one. It was thrown around a lot when I was reading, like right before I stopped reading stuff that was about Bebop coming out, and then kind of be mad that it was such a like multicultural the cast of actors, and also that they had a queer non-binary person playing Gren. It was just sort of this idea that like, Netflix is pandering to to the woke crowd. They're trying to woke wash this thing, and that's like such a strange, bizarre stance to take, I think, on progress and on inclusion and representation. It just feels very archaic, because me being on a TV show does not take anything away from anybody, but what it does do is it gives people like me who have never seen themselves represented before life-saving and life-affirming material. It gives them the opportunity to see that they exist, and they exist in media, that they exist in life, and that they could also do what I do too as an actor if they wanted, as a writer. It has a direct correlation and response to the way that people see their own value and their own self-worth. And if you don't see yourself in media and people are telling you that like you don't really exist, like you're going to believe it. And then you're going to, kind of crumble and fall apart. And it's the sad reality that so many people probably could have lived more authentically if they had better representation and had people to look up to that sort of paved the way for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and before you ask that,
oh no, I wasn't going to ask something. I was just going to make a statement.
No, I want to know, because I don't remember this term, and I don't want to say their name here. But somebody got upset with you and said that you were doing something, and it was white something and white something. What were those terms?
Ooh,
white boldness?
No, white boldness.
White boldness.
What was the other one? White, and we were all like,
white boldness and white.
Oh, are you talking about me?
Yeah, I'm talking to.
Oh, I thought you were talking to Mason. Oh, yeah, it was white boldness and white
foolishness.
Yes.
White foolishness. What is? Are y'all just making up stuff like to just make up?
Have you ever heard those terms, Mason?
No, I've never heard this before.
I mean, it was a situation, and
it's resolved now. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's resolved now. Yeah, I snapped the fingers. And
it ain't resolved.
But it was something when I was
It's a
told
ridiculous thing. It was
when
ridiculous.
I was told this, like I had to ask a bunch of my white friends, like, have y'all ever heard of these terms,
These
white
terms.
boldness, white foolishness, and I asked Trav was like, I've never heard of that. Like, I don't even know what that is. And like look, I even looked it up on Google. It did not come up at all. And then one of my friends was just like, yeah, white foolishness is like jackass, and I like what they do on Jackass. I was just like, oh, okay, like. I mean, is that wrong to make fun of like what they do on Jackass? Like,
again, that goes into the stereotype for white men. You know what I mean? Like, it's all fun and games. Like, you know, they play a lot of those tropes in stand up. You know what I mean? Where like they talk about you ain't gonna see no black dude on Jackass doing any of that stuff. But
man, that's
true.
true.
Guy and put it straight out.
That's true. But hold on. But I will say that when I can't remember when Compton was on Viva La Bam.
Yeah.
I was just like
Compton crazy though.
He is crazy.
But that's the funny
One of my
thing.
favorite skateboarders.
I forgot all about
One
that.
of my
saw
favorite
Compton-
skateboarders when I was
when
a
I
kid
saw
growing
him
up.
on Viva La Bam, I was just like, dang man, like it's a black guy that is doing all the crazy things that they usually do on Jackass, and like that's cool. So I thought that was cool. Like that made me want to watch the show because he was doing those crazy things. But I don't know, man. I just feel like there are some people here in the world where they just get caught up in their feelings on certain things.
They just want to complain.
That too. But but no, I wanted to bring up Elliot Page because when they had made the transition to, you know, that they were identifying as a man now, it's like I supported that fully. And it's just crazy because Trav, he's friends with me on Facebook, and like he sees like some of the people who come on my comments because I am a professional wrestler. So I have like fans
Like foolishness on them comments.
yeah, like I have fans that will come on my page and like Trav said, like they'll say some white foolishness, and it's crazy that, you know, that there are some people still in this world that when somebody is and when
Wants
they
to be happy,
when they want to be happy and they want to be who they really are, who they truly are, you have people that just sit here and bring them down. And like I'm already somebody that stands up to people who bully. So if you're gonna come at somebody because it's just like they want to be happy and this is who they truly are, then F you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, who are you to say that, you know, that, oh, well, this person was born a woman? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't get to make that choice.
Yeah.
You don't get to make that decision. It's like, let people be who they want to be and respect what they want to do. Like, that's all that matters when it comes to, you know, representation and anything. And it's like, here, Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, man. We
Thanks
support
for coming to our TED Talk.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Hey, and Mason, this is how we get down up here. It's just like, yeah, we a nerd podcast, but sometimes we talk about some real life stuff because people need to hear the real life stuff.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you coming up here and joining us.
Oh, anytime. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
Now, Trav, did you have one other thing that you
I do want to bring up one more thing before we get out of here. Something that everybody knows I'm really big into musicals and Broadway stuff and stuff like that. I'm kind of a nerd for it.
Mm-hmm.
But this Hedwig and the Angry Inch, aside from the videos on your page, I don't know what this is, but it looks great. I mean, you look fantastic in it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to see it.
Hedwig is probably one of the coolest musicals. It's one of my favorites. I think the script to Hedwig is one of the best scripts of a musical of all time, and the music is amazing. Rolling Stone said it was like the best rock musical ever. It's like one of the only musicals that like actually genuinely has a rock and roll score that sounds like it could be, you know, David Bowie songs or Iggy Pop, or, you know, and it comes from a very...
I like all that.
Oh yeah, Lou Reed. Like,
right, that's Bowie.
So it's phenomenal. And so when I was in high school, I like discovered it on YouTube. Like I found, because there's a movie version that is so phenomenal. And I bought the movie and I watched it and just fell in love with the story. It's basically the story of like a of a non-binary rock star that is sort of chasing after an ex-lover that took all of their music that they wrote together and became a massive star. And so it's like it is sort of like a Hollywood, almost like True Confessional. And the show like takes place where Hedwig is like stalking her ex-boyfriend and performing the songs that they had written. And it's really, really funny and really, really deep, and it's super universal. Neil Patrick Harris did it on Broadway, and then I did it on tour for a long time. So Neil and I have had many little run-ins about it and stuff.
He looked amazing in it too.
He was so fan. I got to see him in it in like the very beginning of his run, and he was really, really spectacular. But the show is one of the most remarkable pieces of theater, and it touches on a lot of things that we're talking about tonight, about like identity and about really about like the universality of storytelling. Like the whole show is about the search for acceptance, the search for love, and like the search for your other half. It's based on Plato's Symposium, which was like the idea that there were three genders in the world. There were two men glued back to back, two women, and then a man and a woman. Yeah, and that the gods were so scared of the power that humanity held that they cut everybody in half and forced them to travel the world, looking for each other. And that like describes soulmates. It describes love or whatever. And everybody wants love. Like everybody deep down, no matter who you are, no matter like what you are, needs love and needs love of self and self-acceptance and understanding. And so that show just like it taught me a lot, and I think it's a beautiful piece that anybody can watch. We had people that like never in a million years would I think would be so moved and affected by Hedwig's story. That just like you get a couple minutes in and you kind of understand the humanity of the person in front of you, and you are allowed to feel like you are them. Everybody is Hedwig in their own weird way. Even if you're like an 80-year-old, white woman from Arkansas, like there were times on tour where like those were some of the best shows. We're doing it in random states that you wouldn't necessarily expect people to have like intense reactions to a trans narrative. And they were just like, this is me, like this is the most beautiful thing. And that was really, really remarkable.
That's nice, man. I wanted to. I just didn't know. I mean, like, I wanted to follow up with this, and then we can wrap it up, because this was something that I thought was special. And I don't know if you remember this, Mason, but there is a video on YouTube from 2012 when you were in, I want to say, middle school or high school, and pretty much your mother, she was up there and she was just talking about you when you were a kid and how you've always been a helpful person. And it's like it was awesome seeing this, because it's like she had tears in her eyes when she was talking about you, how you've always been the type of person that wants to help people and do charities and whatnot. And to me, like, that is the definition of a true hero, because heroes, they always help people even when they don't ask for help. And that's something that you did. And I just wanted to know, are there any charities that you want to shout out up here on the pod, or anybody that you're working with right now and who you are helping right now?
Wow. Thank you for saying that. That really does mean a lot.
You're welcome.
I used to do a lot of charity work when I was younger. That was kind of like my calling. It felt like that was the thing that I was going to do for a really, really long time. I worked with like the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and like just raised, a couple $100,000 for them over the course of like from age, I think I started when I was 7 to about like 16. And it just became so ingrained in what I wanted to do as a person. And I think that sort of now bled into art and sort of bled into, like the reason why to me, being authentic to myself and representing who I am is so important to me now, because I get to advocate for other people on set. I get to advocate for more diverse writers' rooms and things. Like with each job that I take, I now try to bring other people into it that may not have had that experience before, or would not have had that door opened for them. Like when I did Bebop, we had early conversations in the beginning about like stand-ins in the context of television. They don't necessarily have to look exactly like you. They just have to be similar, like tones and similar size. Sometimes they're not even the appropriate gender. Sometimes in really extreme cases, they're not the same race as you. It's a very, it depends on the kind of set. And our production, our showrunners are just so honest and receptive to everything, that like one of the first things they wanted to do was try and find a non-binary person to be my stand-in, someone that not only looked like me but also was was queer, so that there was this opportunity to put money into the pockets of someone who more than likely would not have that opportunity on TV. And so we found someone who I loved dearly, that looked a lot like me and identified as I do. And it was amazing. In terms of like causes that I'm actually cognizant of right now, glad and a lot of the places that were doing a lot of work during the pandemic for queer youth, like the Trevor Project, especially because mental health is, obviously taking a massive toll during this time. I think are really important to not forget about, and to try to throw some extra dollars if you can, because the Trevor Project really does do a lot of remarkable work, and a lot of life-saving work for people who are in crisis, especially in times like this, where it can get quite dark for everybody, but especially for, trans, non-binary, and queer people. So that would be the one that I would shout out right now.
Cool. And I'm going to make
Hell yeah.
I can promise you when this episode comes out, we'll put the link.
Exactly.
Put the donate button.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and also in our outro, I'm going to make sure that I mention it as well. So that way, if people would love to donate, then they know where to go.
Much appreciated.
For sure. Mason, thank you for joining us up here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. You've been a joy, and we appreciate you joining us today. And before we let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find Mason Alexander Park at. One more question. I'm sorry.
One question.
Yes.
One question. Mason, off the wall question. Favorite horror movie?
Oh no.
This is harder than all the questions I've asked, D.
What movie came to mind when I asked?
I love.
Yeah.
What comes to mind only because of what we're talking about right now was Alien. And I think it's just because I mentioned it earlier. I love sci-fi horror. And I thought that was
great pick. Another cold classic.
Terrifying.
Great pick.
I just had a whole conversation with Paul today on Ridley Scott too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah.
Mason, if you would have either said Alien or The Thing, you got two.
Oh yeah.
The Thing's amazing. That's another one. Those are both
original, not the remake.
Oh yeah, we don't talk about that prequel. We don't talk about the prequel. Not here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. We don't. But Banks, go ahead and take us out, man. And thank you, Mason.
Mason, like I said, let everybody in social media land know where they can find Mason Alexander Park at.
You can find me on Instagram at Mason Alexander Park, and I think on Twitter I'm Mason A Park, and those are the only places that you can find me. Besides, I have a website, www.masonalexanderpark.com. My name is just everything. That's it.
It is.
Well, yeah, hey Mason, thank you again for joining us on today's episode. We really appreciate it. D, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
That's going to be rebellious _D23 at Instagram.com. Trav?
I love that .com. Of course, I'm a one-stop shop. I'm over at the Instagrams at ZK Audio. And if you are in need of a hero, where can they find one, good sir?
You can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can look me up on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to this new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Mason, thank you again for joining us. And we'll see everybody next time on another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Like I always say, keep that pinky up. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.